Hey guys, welcome to the 25th episode of the Learning Podcast. And if you aren't sure, it's a Singaporean podcast dedicated to learning something new from every single guest on this show. And today I have a friend of a friend of a friend on LinkedIn. So basically, we met on LinkedIn. His name is Kai.
Yes.
And he's a mutual friend of Leslie, who was on this podcast a few episodes ago.
Yeah, man.
And like Leslie, he is a financial consultant in the advisory space insurance. And I'll just say it again, I'm very passionate of viewers or people in general getting protection for themselves. So whether if it's getting knocked down by a car, every step of the way, you should get yourself protected in somehow. And I believe Kai can shed a lot of insights onto this industry, although Leslie have shared a lot as well. But I'm sure that both of you guys have different perspective when it comes to, let's say, convincing people that this is a product that they really need, because I think insurance in general doesn't have a very good rep in general. So I think I just think that people don't understand it well enough, but I generally think it's good enough for them. A couple of reasons why I think this podcast will be helpful. Kai himself is a podcast host. His podcast name is The Creative Heart, and I believe that it's on Spotify and iTunes as well. Yeah. So I know that he has recorded a couple of episodes, and I think it's very interesting because podcasting, I think in general, or at least in Singapore, it isn't very popular in that sense. And I think it's like an American thing, and it's the reason why. Okay, a common interest that Kai and I have, right? We are both fans of Gary Vaynerchuk in a sense whereby. So if you don't know who Gary Vaynerchuk is, he simply is an entrepreneur CEO, and he advocates for people to just put out personal branding, and how he advocates for people to do that is just to document and not create. Okay, sorry, I'm just ranting over. Yes, insurance based. Kai here is what I believe to be a enthusiast of puns, because he, together with his wife, if I'm not wrong, please do correct me, have a YouTube channel dedicated to Japanese culture, which is Show You the
Show You the World. Yeah.
Is that a pun?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Do you have a pun right now?
Sorry?
Can you give me a pun right now?
For Show You the World?
Oh, no, like any general. Okay, let me tell you a pun. What?
I'm very... it's called pun.
Already?
Yeah, but you can give me...
What is... Sorry, I just tried. What is a B that's from the US?
B is from the US.
A USB.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, going back to the podcast.
Right.
Kai here is extremely passionate and interested in Japanese culture, and I'm just interested to see why are you interested in Japanese culture in general? You have a YouTube channel dedicated to Japanese culture in a sense. So I think it's very interesting to hear from that perspective. And sorry for the long rant. Kai, for those listeners that don't know who you are, could you give a backstory of where you come from and what you're doing?
How far do you want me to go?
Up to you.
Professionally, I'm from Prudential. I've been with the company since 2012. It's as good as my first career actually, because I do actually have a short stint with a recruitment company, which I can...
Recruit Express, right?
Hey.
I was doing some stalking on LinkedIn, actually. Of course, I need to do my homework, right?
I'm more than happy to actually go into that a little bit later on. Yeah. And then, so it's been like, 8 years of my career right now?
That's damn long.
Yeah. Correct. And other than that, I'm also a photography enthusiast, just like to play around with like videography, video editing and stuff while I'm actually on traveling. So a lot of my content on my social media are mostly like travel related, like lifestyle, and just experimenting and like putting that part of myself out there. I don't know whether I can call myself creative or not, but like, I just like to do that. So yeah.
Okay, so going all the way back, right?
Yeah.
You were in a recruitment firm before you jumped into the financial space, right? Could you just share with me how was that like, and how you transition, or how you start? How do you start?
Let me share with you why I was there. And to explain that part, right, it has to go even further back.
Yes.
I'm sure this actually wouldn't be your fault because it's not stated anywhere in my LinkedIn or like Facebook, anything like that. But I was born a Malaysian. So I actually came to Singapore when I was 15.
15, okay. Which part of Malaysia do you come
Malacca.
from? Oh, okay.
Historical Malacca, lots of good food, chendol, that kind of stuff. Yeah, y'all can, next time if you want any tips, just let me know. So I came over with, because of an opportunity that was given to me to actually study in Singapore. Like one of those Methodist associations of schools, they always have like links to Singapore and likewise with Malaysia, like vice versa. So I was given the opportunity to study in a secondary school in Singapore, ACS. So 2 years worth of scholarship. So back then, obviously, if you if you don't know this, there is always a stark difference in terms of like education levels between Malaysia and Singapore. So coming to Singapore, it was a really, really big jump. In fact, it was a complete shock. Believe it or not, my first L1R5. Wait, do you still come from the L1R5 generation?
Yeah, I come from the L1R5 generation then.
Okay.
Wait, when you enter ACS, you were Sec 3, is it?
Sec 3.
Sec 3,
yes.
okay, I get it. Yeah, because I know some of my friends also came to Singapore when they were
Sec
secondary 3.
But talking about age-wise, right, I belong to the 1988 group, although I was born 1987. So when you come to Singapore, you are like kind of pulled back a year. Yeah. So I did in Sec 3, Sec 4, my first L1R5 was 26 points. It's very embarrassing to talk about it.
Are you kidding me?
Yes.
No. As a scholar. My L1R5 was like 40, bro.
Serious?
I was failing everything. okay, but yeah.
Yeah.
Could you share more about like, the
scary.
differences between schooling in Malacca and schooling in Singapore? Because for me, I would
First
I
off,
would know.
everything in so I came from so Malaysia actually has two educational route, so called, right? You can actually go to a pure Chinese, pure Mandarin school. That means all your syllabus is actually in Mandarin and some are actually in English. Or you go to the national school. National school, because the national working language in Malaysia is Bahasa Malaysia.
Yeah.
So everything is in Bahasa. So I came from that route.
Oh,
So
do you speak
written-
Chinese?
I speak Chinese.
Okay.
I speak Mandarin, but I cannot
Right.
write a lot
I
of Mandarin
see.
characters.
I see.
So yeah, that's the kind of like the challenging part. Even when if we talk about Japanese culture later, because I know all those kanji, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
we have,
that's
like,
interesting.
Roots in Chinese characters, right?
Yeah.
So that's the challenging part. But going back to Sec 3, yeah. So number one, everything that I actually studied from primary school all the way to secondary school in Malaysia was all in Malay.
Okay.
In Bahasa Malaysia. So coming to Singapore, everything is in English. That actually had a huge role in like my L1R5 because coping with the language, right?
Yeah.
The language of instruction. So struggled my way through and like just had to bury my head down to studying and things like that, so that I can actually clear Sec 4 and not risk
Retain.
myself being thrown back.
Oh.
Not even retain.
Okay.
Your scholarship will be revoked.
Yeah.
That was the fear, because that was like what everyone was actually telling me, and then you'll be thrown back to Malaysia and you restart again. So thankfully I did okay, scraped through, did my JC as well, and then NUS.
Which JC do you go to?
ACJC.
Oh, it's a. Oh, okay. Do you take A levels or IB?
A levels.
I see.
Yeah.
Then which university do you go to?
NUS.
NUS.
So everything is around the area.
Oh,
Every
okay.
Yeah. So coming out of NUS, so I was actually majoring in economics. So after NUS, I was still on my Malaysian citizenship. So because I was on student pass. So actually, interesting story is that my mom and dad have always been in before they actually retired, they were actually in an insurance company in Malaysia, the American insurance company. And so growing up, I was from that family, right? Seeing what my parents went through, like the good and the bad, in the sense that the hardship and the meaning of the career and things like that. But I couldn't practice it, right? Because in Singapore, the law is that you at least, then the law was that you at least must have a PR in order for you to actually practice as an insurance consultant, which I didn't have. So, but I did receive a call. I think it was like my second last paper or my last paper of my last year in NUS. I received one of those telemarketing calls from my current director, actually.
Whoa, okay.
Sorry, not directly from her, but her telemarketer called me, reached out to me like, we actually have this position. It's an insurance consultant. Do you want to come out and take a look? And I said, I'm happy to take a look, but I must first tell you, be very upfront first, that I'm Malaysian. Like, are you okay for me to even come down so that I don't waste your time, right? She said, yeah, just come down. At the same time, I kind of like also went, because that was the era whereby you receive a lot of such calls on telemarketing for like financial consultants and things like that. And I actually went for 3 other companies. So
Wait, for all these 3 other companies, are they insurance related? Like when you're
Insurance
finishing,
as well.
when you're finishing university, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as an economics graduate, right?
Yeah.
Were you considering into other roles outside insurance, or you knew that because your parents was in this industry, you knew that
you were like this? I had no idea.
Oh, no idea. I
had
mean,
no idea.
that's what most
I
people
was
go
like
through.
just keeping myself open-minded, because, for a lot of people, I think insurance career probably is like the last thing they will actually consider. But for me, because I came from a family whereby, you know, that was what put food on the table, and I could actually see meaning behind it, I was open-minded. It's not something that die I will want to go in.
Okay.
But at the same time, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So when I was actually an economics major, if you ask me, right, what I wanted to do, right, my idea of an economics graduate, the kind of job opportunities, I was imagining myself like sitting behind a desk, writing or reviewing some economic policies, like maybe in MAS or you know, like government board kind of companies. Then I don't think I can imagine myself that way, like, cause like
the process of elimination of what you don't want.
Yeah, correct. So I was just being open-minded, like there's no other job opportunities, why don't I just try like see what's in the market kind of thing.
How do your friends respond to it? Like among your peers in that generation, what kind of jobs were they going for? What were their opinions when you told them that you were open to being in the insurance space? Or was there any stigma, or how was the process
so
like
at
that?
At point of time, right, because maybe it wasn't after graduation, I was already like what I was saying, when I was going for the interviews, it was like my second and my last paper, so before graduation. So to be honest, in terms of like friends' response and things like that, actually not much.
Neutral. Like everyone
maybe
was just trying to find something, is it?
Correct. And also maybe because my own personality is that I don't go around. I'm the kind of person who don't go around and like ask people, hey, I'm going to do this, what do you think? Except for my parents. I don't know why. Maybe because I'm from a single child family. Yeah. So I went out for the interview, specifically with my current director. And then she told me that, you know, you're graduating, unless you actually have other job opportunities that's actually coming up. If you don't, why don't you just come and under an internship with me, like, you know, for like maybe a year while we try to apply for the PR for you. So I was like, why not? Like, if it's something that I'm gonna try, I might as well learn the ropes when there is no sales targets whatsoever being like pegged to my time in the company, right? So I just went through it. She actually tried to apply for the PR for me like for 3, 4, 5, 6, up to 7 months. Still no results. In fact, there were a lot of rejections and we couldn't actually get around the issue. And then I thought that, you know, there's no choice. It's after 7 months.
At this point, what visa did you have?
So still student pass.
Okay,
so
still student
there
pass.
was still a period of time whereby before your student pass actually expires. And just nice, I had that window to actually do the internship with my director. So that was the point when I knew Leslie.
Oh, were you guys under the same director?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
I see.
So we're from the same agency. So I actually started.
This was what year? 2011.
2010-ish, 2011.
Wow. Okay, you guys are like
2010.
Okay.
2010. Yeah, because the second part later, it makes sense. It's about 2010. So I actually helped him to do cold callings and things like that. And
you helped him?
Yeah. So like
by that point of time, he was already like a full-timer, is it?
He was already
okay. So you were under him technically.
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I was like his mentee. He was like my mentor.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but at that point of time, we were not close at all.
Oh.
I was like, wow, this guy, you know, he like, because he always exudes that the kind of aura that he knows what he's doing. So I'm like, wow, I really need to seize the opportunity to really learn as much as possible from him. So I did cold calling for him. I even went for appointments with him, like meetings and things like that. And he taught me a lot of stuff. And then I thought, oh, this guy is very nice. I'm very fortunate in this space. And in fact, when I was actually telling my parents, like one of the questions I actually get is that both of your parents are in Malaysia. Usually you will just like, why don't you just go back to Malaysia and like just pick up the business from your parents, right? Since, you know, you can work in the same environment. So actually that was the total opposite that my dad actually advised me to do, because he advised me that if you had the slightest interest in trying to explore this career, best to do it in Singapore for some obvious reasons, because the financial markets in Singapore are generally comparatively more transparent. So that's good for you and I as a consumer, as a consultant. It's actually better. Like at a point of time, you will never see, because you know that I grew up in the era whereby a lot of like insurance policies and like, you know, plans and things like that, financial plans are being sold in roadshows, right? So strangers, dealing with strangers. That was a period of time where you would never see that in Malaysia. So just the nature of the environment. So my dad actually told me that if you want to practice that, do it in Singapore. And then the other thing is, for obvious reason, is that conversion rate is higher lah. Right? And he actually wanted, truthfully speaking, the main reason is he really wanted me to start my career and my family strong foundation in Singapore, basically. So I took his advice. But right, 7 months expired, right? And I still actually couldn't get my PR. So I was like, I guess I need to figure out this part of my life somewhere else lah, right? There's no use for me to continue this internship, like, you know, when you don't see.
How long was this? 1 year?
This was 7 months.
7 months,
7
okay.
months, right? So then I cannot exactly remember who gave me this idea. I think it was a friend who actually went through Recruit Express as well. But I somehow actually told me this rumor. Actually, it was really a rumor. I had no facts to fact check lah. That this company is very welcoming in terms of like offering the newbies, like the new hires, employment pass, especially for Malaysians. And then I thought that career is also not too bad because as a recruitment consultant, you're basically placing candidates, right? It's ultimately a sales career. You are being assigned to like maybe the banking department of the recruitment consulting firm, and then you actually get candidates and then you kind of like match them into jobs. And most of the stuff is actually being done, most of the work is being done via sales calls. So I was thinking like, not too bad, I guess, as a kind of like a opportunity while I try to figure out this part of my life, because like if I were to try to eventually I want to actually explore a sales career or a career that actually has to do with like sales and things like that, I might as well do something related kind of. So that's where I went, recruitment consultant. So then 1.5 years later, I really actually got my employment pass.
With this recruitment firm?
Yes, I got an employment pass. I did 1.5 years there before I eventually got my PR. So the day when I got my PR, the first people that I actually called to inform them of the good news were my parents. Second person is actually my director.
Oh, okay.
I told her that I've gotten my PR, I'm ready to come back. Yeah. So this is the part where actually after 2 years under her, I actually asked myself this question, like why I even went back to Prudential. So a lot of people ask me like, why you chose Prudential? Actually, you know what? I actually didn't choose the company. It just so happened that because remember that 7 months of internship, I saw the fact that for someone who we don't have any blood relation, like you just through your telemarketer, we actually knew each other, but you kind of like fought for me. You're a director level and I'm like a nobody, right? As an intern, you did not actually have to go through that 7 months for me to help me to apply for my PR, but you did that. And to me, that was like I think based on the people that I know, she was someone that I thought I could follow. So that was the reason. So looking back, right, I didn't choose a company. I just chose I think I just follow her because like, oh yeah, and my dad actually told me this. In this career, who you follow will make or break your career. So I thought that for someone who of her stature, I don't know, to me, I will always like look back in this perspective, like for someone that actually owed me nothing and willing to go through that, the additional mile with me to actually get to help me, even though that it was of no success, but I could see that with my eyes. That actually meant a lot to me, and that's why I actually went back with her.
Can I just go a little bit back, right? Because I think I myself have a lot of friends from Malaysia as well. They are in the process of getting that PR. Like, can you share more of that 7-month process where you try but couldn't get it, and as well as your experience in trying after you joined Recruit Express? Because I myself, I have no idea about the applications of PR. Like, what are the processes? What are the considerations? I know it's information out there, but having went through the process of getting this yourself, right? I mean, if there's someone on the other end, a Malaysian who's in Singapore who's looking to build his or her career, right? What kind of just macro things would you look out for? Because I mean, I would think that, of course, setting up in Singapore, definitely on a macro scale, it's much better compared to Malaysia. And I'm not sure whether it's a racial thing, whether you're Chinese or, because I do have like Malaysian friends who are Chinese that say it's really much better to be here in Singapore. But can you share more about the details of getting this PR? I think it's quite interesting.
Details.
How difficult was it? Like you say that she was fighting for a PR. What did she have to do to be part of the process?
Okay, this is the part that I didn't actually make it very clear. So there's something that's actually very interesting between like as a financial consultant. The context is that whatever I'm gonna be sharing doesn't apply to insurance companies anymore. It only applied back then because things have changed.
Yes.
Right?
That was
So-
almost like 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn long time. So the nature of our relationship as financial advisors with the company, we are essentially not employer-employee like you and VaynerMedia. So we are, if you were to look at our name cards, right, we are basically representatives of the company, right? So because of this relationship, there's no employer-employee relationship. The company cannot apply directly for us for the PR. So this was the part where my director back then was trying to figure out, was it really true? Because everything was actually quite grey. Like we couldn't get an answer right away. So she was trying the different steps, trying to really apply for it, see whether we could actually get around this issue, of course legally. But basically there was no chance at all because the relationship just didn't exist. So that is why I actually had to go to another company that actually
Had a formal contract
Correct.
with you.
Yeah, correct. Where I'm the employee and they are the employer. And that's where I can actually get the EP before, after. So the only thing that actually stays consistent, I think, if it hasn't changed right now, is that you have to be an EP for at least, I think, 6 months. I really cannot remember already. Back then it was 6 months, but I think don't quote me on this, I may be totally wrong. I think it's like you have to be at least an EP, employment pass holder, for like 2 to 3 years before you can apply for a PR. I'm not too sure. But back then it was about like 6 months. So I did just that.
During your time at the recruitment firm, right, is there any... I mean, when you left, I mean, what was the kind of, on a day-to-day job, what were you doing there? I mean, and on a scale of like 1 to 10, like how much do you enjoy it? Or mostly it's just there to get by? Relative to the work that you're doing now.
I am a bit regretful to actually say this,
Okay.
but I never actually publicly really tell anyone about this. But yeah, I really didn't enjoy my time there.
Or you really didn't?
Yeah.
Why not? Is it just toxic, or just mainly meeting sales targets, or it's just you don't find
maybe it
meaning
wasn't
in the work
really
that you did?
yeah, I don't think I'm someone who can actually stay at a space to keep calling people.
So that was the kind of environment you're in. Like it's just a room to just keep calling people.
So okay, to be fair, it's not just calling. So calling, of course, is the bulk of it. Of course, you have to call candidates and you have to call companies who potentially want to have candidates, right? And then after that, you will actually go for like meetings. Again, it is either with hiring companies or with candidates, because you have to sound them out, like the personality and things like that, and then you have to match their...
Because when I was in secondary school, I went for like some. I wanted to just a part-time job.
like
So I
that.
went to like, then
Yeah.
they will interview me. Then what kind of job you want to do?
Yeah.
And I'll work at a cafe, like
Yeah.
$15, that kind of stuff.
Correct. So the only part maybe I can say that I actually really enjoy is when I actually get to meet the hiring managers and like maybe the candidates themselves, because some of them actually go through like certain difficulties, but like my hands were always tied, right? Because I'm like only the junior of the most junior executive, and then like I cannot really help, like, but those conversations were, I remember I actually enjoyed those. But other than that, like, going to work every single day was pretty dreadful.
Dreadful.
Correct. Yeah, maybe because and also, right, as a recruitment consultant company that I actually joined, right, I only knew what was a recruitment consultant company when I wanted to apply for the job. Like, I didn't know what HR was. I had no idea about the business world. Yeah. Maybe because I came from like, the kind of background where Sec 3, Sec 4, J1, J2 and NUS were pretty much just academics. I had the only kind of outside world that I actually had was like the friends around me and CCAs. Because like back in Sec 3 and Sec 4 and J1 and J2, right, because of a scholarship, you had to actually stay in a boarding school. So I was pretty much, if I were to simplify everything, right, kind of like living in a shell. And after, like, the moment I went to NUS is pretty much, well, like the first time where I actually saw like what the world was. And it's like, wow, there's so many things that I didn't know. Yeah. So even looking back, Sec 3, Sec 4, right, the reason why I got a very, very bad L1 RFI, because I came from a childhood where if my friends would actually kind of like hate me, because like in Malaysia, I'm the kind that don't need to study for one whole year, and then like, after like the next 2 weeks when the paper come out, I was still like
Put a little bit of effort.
be the top in the class, that kind of thing. So I actually took that kind of mentality. So as a childhood, I felt that that's just my background. Coming out into the working world, that's when I realized that, man, I had lots to catch up, and that was the stuff that I actually went through. And I even I went through even more when I actually started my career in Prudential. Yeah.
So moving on to Prudential, right?
Yeah.
When you went back to work with your director, right? Was it the same? Was Leslie still there? Was it as like the same department you're in? So technically, you worked under this director, and like, how's it like? How's the process like? I don't know.
So when I went back to them, it was already like a 1 year and 3 months to 1.5 years apart. I was very happy to see that Leslie was doing even better than when I first was under his mentorship. Yeah. So when I first started, it was all a blur, because like you just had to try out every single thing, because I was like a blank piece of paper, and then like whatever kind of business models, whether it's actually roadshows, whether it's cold calling again, which I actually hated, whether it is on a strict prospecting and things like that, or whether it was seminars, whether it was events and things like that, we just had to be exposed to every single one of them, because the idea was that get you to try so many things, and then you will be able to distill what are you most inclined towards, or what are you most like, see yourself like interested in doing, and then that being your main business model. That was like the kind of idea.
Main channel for leads, in a sense.
Main channel to like get your first base of clients. Yeah, correct. So it's to no surprise that I hated cold calling. So I did cold calling maybe for like 5 to 6 months, and then after that, that's it. My life was like the next 3 years was pretty much doing a lot of roadshows, going to a lot of street prospecting, and then after that you get your first batch of clients. The one I enjoy the most is really going to the appointments, meeting clients, and then like building the relationship from there. Yeah. So that was 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, around there. Those were the years that I did pretty okay for myself. Then after that, things actually kicked in. And I only realized it in 2015. So this was the interesting part, or rather, now that I look back, it's interesting lah. But back then, right, it was very, very dark, because I couldn't find the meaning of chasing after sales year after year. Yeah. So in insurance companies, right, I think most insurance companies will have their own portals, their own sales portals, whereby you'll be able to keep track of your own, the clientele that you've actually obtained for the year, production targets and things like that. And that actually resets every single year, which is no surprise. I mean, that's just how things are, right? Every 1st of January, you will see your figures reset back to 0. And I remember being always very scared of that. Like, I can be very, very happy of like what I actually achieved in December. Wow, I have actually attained these awards and things like that. But every time when it's 1st of January, I was like, crap, I have to do it all over again. And I went through that in 2012, 2013, and those were the years whereby, the excitement is still very new. All the incentive trips and like, the whole career was basically just very new. The relationships that you actually built and things like that. But as year by year go by, I just felt that how come I have this very little empty feeling every single 1st of January, and that feeling actually grew year after year. And then I started to look around me, and then I thought that how come nobody was like feeling the same way as me? Like every year they were like, okay, let's go again. And I'm like,
is this whole cycle over and over again?
Or rather worse than that, I was feeling like, how come like I'm the odd one out? Like, am I less capable? So I went through the whole route of like negativity basically. Like I started to feel like, am I less positive? Am I actually naturally a negative person? Am I actually less capable? Am I actually less goals driven? Am I less basically driven in life? So yeah, 2015 was very bad. So I and remember those years when in recruitment consultancy firm where I actually didn't feel like going to work every single day. And I had that again in 2015, 2016, 2017, but I still went to work, right? But I could be like some days when because we are, the thing about financial consulting is you are responsible for your own schedule. I can have one day whereby I'm supposed to actually do this. Of course, not clients related, like, because if it's clients related, if it's meetings with clients, I will still go for those appointments. But I have a lot of days whereby when I'm not meeting clients, but I'm still supposed to do work, I can be not doing a single thing. And just like, I don't know what I was actually doing. So that was when I started to consume content online. I don't read. I'm a very bad reader. I always tell people this. The only books that I ever read that I still remember is actually Harry Potter series.
What kind of content were you absorbing in those days?
So that was those were the years starting in 2015 was when I tried to find out basically through whatever I can actually search on a keyboard, and I was searching things like
training related, sales related, insurance related,
not
entertainment,
really. Basically
binge watching.
What's considered a fulfilling career.
Oh, okay, everything related to that.
Yeah, because that was the biggest question I was actually looking out for, because I couldn't find it in my current environment, right? Okay, to be fair, let me put it into context. Because I was actually in that state, I did not actually bounce off, like even with my director. Like my director always had this very open policy. But you know, you're in that state, right? I don't know. I always talk to myself that I shouldn't bring any more negativity to the office if I'm already, negative. So I kept it to myself and I went to find answers myself. So yeah.
Literally, Google and YouTube saves lives. That's my opinion. It answers so much of our queries.
Yeah, so I Google and I YouTube, and the first content that I consume, which I think many of us would actually consume as well, were like Anthony Robbins.
Yes, Tony Robbins.
Yeah. Simon Sinek.
Yes.
Grant Cardone. A lot of stuff, right? The different content, which I felt that even Jordan Belfort at that point of time, because that was, I think Jordan Belfort, the movie Wolf.
But at that point of time, he wasn't like that online yet, right?
I actually invested in his straight
line
persuasion
course, is it?
Course,
yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I actually did. Really just looking to find answers, which these people actually contributed to a certain extent. But I always felt that it only took me so far, in the sense that I still have a lot of other burning questions. Like, if I were to follow all this, okay, to be fair, like people like Tony Robbins have already helped a lot of people. I'm not saying that the answers that he gave were not applicable to me. I think it's really things like, you hear from these people, whatever answers they actually spit out would actually work for a group of people, but it's just that it didn't ring with me.
What didn't ring with you? Like what specifically? What kind of questions were you looking to answer? Like specifically a fulfilling career, is it?
It's a very good question. Specifically, like when I always look at things with certain level of skepticism, and of course, there's actually nothing wrong, because what's actually going on in my head right now, right, is that a lot of people would actually, whatever I'm gonna share, they're probably gonna take it out of context and like probably gonna actually interpret
distort it, yeah. I mean, people, yeah.
Anyway, but I'm just gonna say it. A lot of people, when they are very well to do, when they are in like seminars, selling seminars and courses and things like that, of course, I will always be I was in a very skeptical mindset whereby you sell a lot of courses. Yes, those things actually are true. They are of value. They actually help me. But I just cannot take my eyes away from your private jets. or
Oh,
your private
okay, okay.
resorts. Like I always question myself, lor, like, is it really like this? Like I was even in a mental state whereby it means to do business. If you want to have a successful business, I was in a mental state whereby you have to be kind of cunning, lah. You have to know how to get around things, and then that's when you have a successful business. Which was something that I was, wow, must the world be that way? Like I couldn't swallow it. And that was when I didn't know who I was. Like I'm in a sales career, and in seems like the patterns I keep seeing is that, you know, if you really want to do very well, like monumentally well, you have to be pretty smart in that sense, right? And that was something that I couldn't accept, lah. Until truth be told, I came across Gary's content, lor.
How was he different from
2015.
like because you absorb so much
So
content, right?
2015,
Why?
right?
Yeah.
When I first actually got his content, right? When YouTube algorithm decided to actually
Oh,
show me
algorithm,
his
is it?
content.
Okay, I'm
Yeah,
sure
really.
every one of
It was
us has like a story
it
of
was the
how we
algorithm.
discovered it. Okay.
And I told him this because Gary, I had the fortune of actually meeting him even, like, I think last year
Yeah.
at WeWork, and I was one of those that was lucky enough to be able to
Ask
him
a question.
I actually told him that for a good 8 months of consuming, I think 3 to 4 pieces of content, I didn't like you. I'm so sorry. Like I really disliked him because of the cursing. And
It's
just
just
thought that,
different culturally.
then I just thought that, who is this guy, man? Like he's just like spitting it off and things like that, cursing. And then I was like, but until like the 4th pieces of content, I'm like, I just don't know why. Maybe the algorithm worked very well. And then I just clicked like more and more of his content, and I just said, this guy seems to have actually started certain business which was Wine Library. And then like he was successful for himself, I'm sure, but I don't know, it's really just the vibes and of him trying to get people to really get on board and give yourself the chance to, like, you know, like get out of your comfort zone and do well for yourself. And then the best thing about that is that I don't see, so I went through the same route again, like trying to see whether he has any other fancy stuff or not. Like if he does, then I'll be like categorizing, you know, just one of those people. Didn't. As I was consuming his content with a bit of a skepticism, I realized that my skepticism level actually went lower and lower and lower and lower.
It takes that volume of content to bring that skepticism level
Correct.
down.
To be frank, now I still consume his content with that 0.0001% of skepticism.
We should always be skeptical to a
correct.
certain
Because
extent.
I feel that we should never take things
Blindly, take content blindly.
on surface level, right? But I must say that he's pretty much consistent since 2015. And to go through that period of 2015, 2016, 2017, right, to take a bit by bit of his advice, because it's a lot of like self-reflection, right? He says one thing, and then like you won't be so hyped up to actually jump on board and do
What's this one
everything.
thing? What's one thing that comes to mind in first? That comes to mind.
You mean 20?
That like the kind of advice that you get that marinates in your head and you take action on it.
In 2015, 2016, it was really about bringing value. Like I never saw that bringing value could be more than dollars. Like I was
That's
just
true.
I was just really focusing on literally meeting by meeting with the client, looking whatever experience, whatever skill sets that I have in my fingertips, and really focusing on just that. Because that was the year when I was thinking like, if I'm gonna be doing badly for this year, I might as well just experiment. So I just focused on relationship by relationship. It started to show me a bit more result in the sense that, okay, remember I mentioned that in 2013, 2014, I went through the years whereby I really enjoyed going meetings with my clients. Like that was that was what I enjoyed most. But 2015, 2016, right, before Gary's content started to sink in and I started to take action, right, I dreaded appointments.
Dreaded.
Yeah.
Oh.
I dreaded because why? I was not well mentally, I was still looking for answers, but I always saw the need that as a financial advisor, you have to be very strong for your clients. So whenever I met clients, right, although I'm not trying to be fake in terms of my relationship, I had to put on a front to show them that I'm okay. Like I'm well, I'm here to take care of your financial
needs.
portfolio. Because like at that point of time, I was thinking, if I'm not doing well mentally, like I'm not doing well myself in my career, although the results were to show otherwise, like I'm actually still performing at a certain level, my clients would be like, maybe I shouldn't be dealing with this guy anymore.
Yes.
So I had a lot of the insecurity. But then those were the years, to be honest, I didn't tell my clients also that I was actually...
You couldn't lah.
Couldn't. I'm just human, right?
Yeah.
So, but I kept things to myself, but thankfully I did not do anything stupid. I just tried little bit by little bit, whatever Gary had to actually, suggest like from afar. I just
What were these little things like giving value? Not in terms of monetary dollars. Was there any other
giving
things
value, and then like those were the years where he did not actually. It's not really sharing like social strategy, social platform strategies, very in depth. Those were the years whereby what is the meaning of a hustle? What's a proper hustle? Giving value. Those actually shaped me a little bit that, hey, there is actually this guy that I can actually look up to, whereby he's doing business as well and pretty successful at that. But you don't have to be a bastard to actually do that.
Yes.
Sorry, I don't know whether I can curse.
No, it's okay. You can curse if you want, honestly.
Yeah. So that actually resonated with me, you see, that I could actually have this guy to kind of look up to, and I, as much as possible, absorb things from him. If you ask me like what are the tangible little steps, I couldn't find it, in the sense that because he was not talking straight into like about insurance career, right? I could only take his macro
principles,
and I try to find what are the areas that I can actually apply to. Yeah. So even I can actually felt I could actually felt myself like 2015, 2016, 2017 felt better and happier. And I always believe that if I was happier, then I think that I can actually
better serve your clients.
Yeah, like I can even, because you don't have to put on a front already, ma. You
It's who you are.
Yeah, you can.
I think it's very fascinating because the work that you do remains the same, but it's just that macro principle inside our heads that changed.
Exactly.
That's how you became happy in that sense.
Exactly. So I realized that I could become more and more present, and I realized that I could actually even talk about my
struggles.
Struggles, insecurities, which I ultimately told my director, I think in 2017, 2018. So that was like, although it's not like a monetary achievement or anything like that, but that, to me, that was a significant achievement.
Yeah.
So I really felt like the change, and then there was like, I felt that actually helped me a lot. So that's why I also don't know how to really externalize it, right? But this person that so-called like is like, thousands of miles away putting out content that actually helped me when I was actually looking for answers. Like things were just like kind of falling into place in that sense. Maybe because I was actually looking out for the positive thing. Like I was looking out for the answers rather than going down the negative, like sliding down the slide of negativity kind of thing. So maybe that was it, but I really owe it a lot to him. Yeah. So 2017, 2018, so I got married to my wife in 2017. So that was the year where things started to sink in that, hey, looking back, right, other than my professional career, because Gary always say that you have to do what you love. It doesn't make sense for you, like for the number of years that you actually be working all the way until 65, 70, whatever retirement age, if you decide to work for yourself. And that those years, if you're not happy with it, then it's gonna be a gone case for you, GG by the time, right?
Yeah.
So that's when I started to actually reflect, actually what do I love? Like other than every day going to my clients, having meetings with them and then having sales production and everything, what else do I really enjoy? Because I felt that at that point of time, right, how come like other than meeting out with friends, how come I don't have anything that I kind of like to do, even when I'm like bored or like free, right? And then I started to recall that I actually did photography, right? Of course, I actually did a lot of things previously. I was in a band back in school. But what I actually gravitated and spent the most time on and off was actually photography. I came into contact with photography first is through my dad, because those were the years of film photography, like those Canon like battery operated.
That's old stuff.
And even before that, my uncle was actually pretty wealthy, is still a pretty wealthy guy, and he actually had one of those classics film cameras. I always find myself very fascinated with those things. And then in NUS, I think
Photography
now-
club?
No,
Oh,
not photography club, but there was this wave of photography, right? It was called lomography.
What's that?
So lomography was like, those were the years with like Diana F plus, toy cameras.
Oh yes, I remember
But,
that period.
Yeah, like you take films and then you cross process them, and then you get like some very weird colors, but some are very
filters,
nice, that kind of stuff. And those were the years, and that was when I was back in NUS, like year 2 or year 3, and me and a couple of my buddies were very into that. But we quickly became poor because like every single
Expensive.
film is very expensive, and as NUS students, if you don't have any part-time job, right,
Yeah.
you basically will like
Spend all your money on
yeah.
that.
So I stopped after a while doing lomography, and I never actually owned a single DSLR. The first so-called semi-pro camera, like this word was still being widely used back then, was in 2014 when I first bought my Olympus Pen 5. 2014 when I was going for my incentive trip back in Prudential, and I realized that I love taking photos. Like, wow, so fun. Maybe because it was a novelty of a new country. The first one I went was like Japan, and then after subsequently like Korea and things like that. And I felt like, why don't I just, if it's something that I'm naturally inclined to, why don't I just try to pick it up? Like, maybe let's see how it goes. So 2016, I bought my first Fuji camera. 2017, I did a lot of on and off. Like whenever I travel, I'll take pictures, and even like Singapore.
Portrait photography? What kind of photography are you mainly? Just
everything.
taking photos?
Yeah, like basically
Okay.
taking photos.
Post editing them heavily.
Post
is it?
editing them, and that's when and then right, going like, cause if you were to do a lot of post editing work, right, you will know you have to do a lot of Photoshop work and
Yes.
Lightroom and things like that. And actually back when I was in my late teens, there were no Lightroom, there was Photoshop.
Yes.
And back in Malaysia, right, my dad was one of those dads where he would actually buy like Malaysia a lot of pirated CDs.
Oh, okay.
Those softwares whereby there's a lot of 100 over softwares.
All in one is it or something
Yeah,
like that?
so I wasn't an IT boy. I played a lot of PC games, but when I stumbled upon one of those CDs, right, I'll be very fascinated at what are these softwares. And maybe back then Google search wasn't really much of a thing. I didn't actually search out like what's the software and all, but I just installed them blindly and I tried to explore. So like I explored softwares like Macromedia, Dreamweaver, Adobe, Photoshop. Those were the years. And then I realized that back in 2016, 2017, I started to enjoy those things again. Like, the whole post-processing, and I started to actually became more and more
Something that makes you very excited.
yeah, and I became more active on Instagram. Yeah. So I
I mean,
started to
this
share
goes
photos
this
whether-
goes back to the rationale of Gary's rationale of you finding the work that you are excited by. Not necessarily work in a professional, but just
Correct.
doing work that you just like doing.
Correct. So I realized that professionally, what actually puts food on the table is Prudential. But photography was something that I actually enjoyed. So why do I dip my toes deeper into it? Like just do it whenever I actually have time. Since it's something that I enjoy. Whether it's actually when I was traveling or when I was in Singapore, just do it whenever I had time. And then I started to explore different things like whether it's cinematograph, different things that I came across on YouTube because I was still consuming a lot of content.
Yeah.
I experimented myself, and then I say, hey, something that I really, really enjoy. And then 2018, so 1 year after my wife and I got married, we decided that one of those couples where before we actually decided to settle down and have kids and things like that, why don't we just 1 year do something crazy?
Yeah, I think that's cool. Yeah. So what's this crazy thing?
So the crazy thing was, so my wife and I, back then we were dating. We went a few times to Japan and realized that there's this something that we actually naturally gravitate towards in Japan. And then we felt that why don't in 2018, right? And also at that point of time, 2017, we already started to take some Japanese language lessons.
Oh, together is it?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. So that was like our every weekend kind of activity up to today. Like tomorrow we
How
actually have a
good are
class.
you in your Japanese right now? Like on a scale of 1 to 10?
Not N4 level yet.
Okay.
But because we are in this school called Bunka, they actually focus more on the conversation rather than the written tests. So we are trying to challenge ourselves finally this year to take an N4 lesson.
I think it's interesting how they make it more practical, right? So when you go there, you can actually talk with the locals, and I think it's really nice to be able to talk with the locals.
And the reason why we actually took lessons, right, is because we really wanted to find out more for ourselves, not through any form of translations in English or anything like that. Like what this whole and explore Japanese culture.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So we found that it's something that we actually gravitate towards too. Why in 2018 we do something crazy, which is do one whole year, just spend one whole year in Japan.
So you did that?
We didn't because 1 year was like too long. But we did 6 months.
Wow, 6 months.
6 months.
Like, do you need any visa thing for that, or like?
So
you flew in and out, is it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So we did
3
months. So for the nature of my work, for my wife, she actually temporarily stepped back from work for 1 whole year. But for me, the nature of my work, I was still in Prudential. So how I actually managed to do that is that I did a 3 months. I came back because I couldn't just walk away from my clients for one like even 6 months. I came back and do work for about 3 to 4 months, and those were the 3 to 4 months I really enjoyed because like recharge.
It's once in a while.
Yeah. And then after that, right, 2018 November, we went back again for another 3 months. So altogether,
so
6 months.
it's not okay. I see.
Yeah.
I thought it's like 6
Cannot,
months.
because we couldn't, maybe because of our age and maybe because of bilateral relations between Singapore and Japan, we explored every single option, and the options were just not possible.
90 days lah. 90 days was the limit.
Correct.
Yes. Okay, I see.
So,
that's interesting.
So for those 3 months, we were based in one prefecture, but we would explore out. Yeah. So then up to today, we have this goal, right? Because Japan actually has 47 prefectures. The little goal between my wife and I is we want to complete all 47.
How many have you covered so far?
27.
27. Only halfway through. Only 6 months.
Yes.
Only halfway through. Only.
Yes. It's a lot, man. It's a lot. It's not 6 months halfway through. Actually, even some of the trips before 2018.
Oh,
like
it's not within
2 week
that
kind of trip.
6.
2 week kind of trip. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In your travels, what have you learned? Like, okay, let's say a conversation. Differences between Japanese and Singaporeans and the kind of mindset. I sometimes get the impression that Singaporeans are really like very fast. Like so much is happening lah. But is there any big differences when you knew the culture for yourself when you talk directly to them?
So I think when I share my experiences with my Singaporean friends, I think a lot of us can actually resonate with it, and a lot of us like in Singapore actually see this as an example. When it comes to like the Japanese way of doing things, which is like they're very clean and things like that, very efficient.
Mio Konda,
Marie Kondo.
Oh, Marie Kondo.
Yeah.
She's Japanese, right?
Yeah,
okay, I haven't watched it. Okay, I see.
So there's always this like perfectionism that they actually strive towards, right? While all those are true, for my wife and I, what actually connects with us the most, right? What resonates with us the most? Because those were the years where I just was like, hey, starting to actually find a bit of answer myself, right, in my career. So 2018, I wanted to really see it for myself, right? What's this whole Japanese culture is all about? And is there something that I really wanted to find out? It's the old people.
Yeah.
So in 2018, when during those trips, what really inspired me the most and it really put in the pieces together, like what I'm actually striving for, I think right now, because of after all the Gary's content and my trip, in 2018 and things like that. It's when we came into contact with the old people, and when I say old, right, in Japan, old means 85.
Really old.
Not 85. 65. 65 is young.
Yeah, okay.
But they can be 85 and look like 65.
Okay.
It's freaking
What's
crazy.
the secret?
Yeah.
Okay, no.
I don't know what's the secret, but I think it's probably the sushi and the sashimi.
Healthy food, okay. But in terms of the kind of thought process, like what do you learn talking to them?
So like before we even actually had conversations with many of them, right? One thing that really kind of like got me really curious is how can I be 85 and still be walking at the same pace, if not faster than me? Can be going up to their
hills,
temples and
mountains,
shrines, like those 100 steps daily to offer prayers with no
assistance,
with no assistance, with no tongkat or whatever. how can they be, their facial expression, can they look so young? How can they be smiling? And some of them are like working at jobs that, right, I think a lot of us will never do, which is like prune plants by the
Physical
roadside.
labor, is it?
And then whenever we try to like, physical labor, like, you know, planting wasabi plants and things like that. And whenever we have conversations with them, right, like, this is still your job, like, you're still working. And with our broken Japanese, that's really their job, and they're so happily doing it at the age of 85. Like, it's in the sun, like, and sometimes in winter, and then like
it's cold.
they are working, but yet they don't look like they are working. They're really enjoying life.
Okay.
And then I put back into context, right? These people are like 80 plus, and then if I were to do my math correctly, those are the same people that actually went through war times, if not post-war times. And they are living the kind of lifestyle whereby today, when I actually talk to them, they are so enthusiastic in talking to us. And then that's when, like, man, if I ever have the blessing to live until 80, 85, right, I want to be smiling like them.
Yeah.
I cannot be working, but I want to have that kind of quality of life. So that's when I think, hey, this is actually possible. So, and then with Gary's content, you know, like, why he always say that, you know, try to, if you ever have the chance, go to like old folks home and like, try to spend time with them.
Yeah.
So for me, is I did that in Japan. And I find that, hey, it's really something, it's not my anchor, lor. It's not my anchor, lor. Like, it is no longer that, in the whole macro level, like, I'm no longer very stressed by the
day-to-day happenings. Is that?
Like, I would say social expectations that in order for you to do well in life, you have to do well financially.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
These are conventional
you have
markers.
To survive,
Yeah.
You have to survive, like, but you don't have to like check, like there's a financial checklist that you have to actually do all this, but you have to ensure that your family is protected, safe, and at the end of the day, you're happy. So that in fact changes like my way of dealing with clients. Like, I'm no longer like, I would like to say that even in 2013, 2014, I'm not the kind of very, very pushy agent, because that's just not like me. But of course, we will always have, you know, like go through certain sales training and things like that, and we will always apply certain sales techniques into whatever we do.
Yes.
But now the whole idea whenever I go to my meetings right now is, how do I ensure that after my client leaves, like in the sense that end the meeting, he or she would just be that 0.5% happier because we actually met today. Like, how can I actually put that 0.5% value, however much I've got. And at the end of the day, if knock on wood, I'm not in this career anymore, of course, I hope not to be. But if I were to, like, you know, go into a different, pursue a different career or anything like that, how do I ensure that when the moment I
Make the decision
and transit, they are okay. Like, I won't be like 30 years down the road after I've left the career and I come into contact with their granddaughter or grandson, like, hey, you agent last time, you already, like, what kind of planning you actually did for my grandpa, like. So I keep things in very macro perspective, and I actually just use that as my anchor and like try to navigate this
the
whole
day-to-day
career
happenings.
with this, because I just want to be happy when I'm 85, and hopefully I can still go to Japan that time.
And it's funny how this whole thing goes full circle.
It's pretty crazy, but I don't know whether it is really true or not, but you know, like what they always say, like, if you're looking for the answers, you're gonna find it. Of course, I cannot say for myself, like, even if I'm very truthful for myself, I'm still not a very successful person by any means, but I find that I am much more confident.
Satisfied.
Yeah, I'm much more at peace, and I'm much, like, I know what I'm doing. Yeah, I think that is something that if I can offer any advice, right, for anybody who's really trying to come into this career, like any insurance company, if you're being cold called, and then you're being offered anything right in your face, that, you know, there's actually these promises that the insurance career actually, you know, is able to actually give you, which most of them are really true, like you can actually all have all the financial success and everything, right? Know that you need to know why you are here. Like, not all of us, of course, there's no right and wrong answer. If you can actually operate your day to day by just chasing after sales target, nothing wrong. And I actually admire a lot of my friends who are able to actually do that. I just have come to acceptance that I am not like that. And if I am not like that, right, I think a lot of people are also not like that. So, and these are the people, right? Let's say we belong to this group, right? We have to find something else to attach, so that there is a meaning to your career. There's a meaning to whatever you're actually doing every single day, and everyone's meaning is gonna be different. And for me, I've gone through those periods where I felt emptiness, and if you were to say like what you mentioned, well, you've been here for like 9 years, which is true, but a good 5 years of that was really finding my own voice. And I think a lot of people who've gone through this career, whether it is after 3 to 4 years and after they left because they actually felt that it's totally empty and then they just
Pangkang.
pack up and then just go, or like they went through this career and then after that they felt like they're basically just doing the day-to-day things, and then like, I mean, to me, there's really no right or wrong. If you feel that good finances, the however much dollars that you can actually earn, that actually excites you every single day, that's good for you. You should actually do whatever you need to do. But those of us who are really finding our own voice, especially if you're in the 3rd or 4th year of your career, if you're not sure whatever you're doing, and if you are waking up every single day, don't feel like
It's making you excited.
you, instead of blaming people, I think that's what I can actually give a bit of my credit for myself, is maybe because of my introvert self that
You blame yourself.
no, like I don't blame my circle, because in the first place I don't talk to them.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I don't tell them my problems.
Yeah.
Right. So the first thing is not to blame anybody, but to really understand who you are as a person. Like how do you function? Like what excites you? And there is no straight strategies for this, but the mentality has to be right. I feel, to be in this career and to sustain yourself. Because if you don't have a strong mental strength in this career, if
You're
3
just
to 4
gonna get
years,
weeded out.
it's either you are the kind of person that is actually like can really function day to day with all the monetary gains, and that's good for you. You can actually survive that for 10, 20 years. But if not, you have to find. If not, you have to find meaning, and if you don't find a meaning, then you are gone, because it's a lot of hard work, really a lot of hard work, and you have to go through a lot of shit. Like even like a lot of people say that you're in this career, you just have to work very hard for 2-3 years, right? This is a lot of directors and managers in insurance companies will tell you that you just have to work very, very hard for 2-3 years, and then after that things will actually become better and easier. It's never that way.
Never that way.
It's never that way. It's the same as every other career, where you have to really put every single blood and sweat every single year, because
It resets
the
every
industry doesn't stay static, right? It continues to evolve, and it's evolving even faster nowadays. If you ever manage to talk to people like some of the people that I actually really look up to in the industry, people like Jia Le,
I have no idea.
He's a social media ambassador in his current company. He's also in the financial space. He's also been here for like 8 or 9 years, and even like the high achievers, they will never tell you that I'm just shaking my leg every single day and the money comes in. So whenever you actually are being offered certain things and you are being lured into the career itself, question yourself: does it sound too good to be true? It's never that. And for anybody who has actually come into contact with me and then like ask me, hey, I'm actually joining an insurance career, like I will really spend 3 hours and really try to share with them my experience if they actually have the time, and then also tell them that this is gonna be hard. You have to be very, very, very prepared. There's really no easy thing one. Really not easy.
Okay. For myself, I have a friend who also just joined the insurance space, and he joined about 9 months ago.
Okay.
And you talk about having a very strong why in terms of why he wants to be in it. I mean, I'll just be upfront to say he wasn't left with many choices in terms of his career routes, of what he was studying in. So he's trying to find his channel. Like you mentioned, your channel obviously wasn't telemarketing, right? In terms of someone really just starting out fresh, right? Other than, let's say, trying out all these different channels, right? Are there additional things from your perspective in being in this industry for so long? Right? What things can he or she do?
The thing right now is, obviously, if you ask me this question, the short answer is I really believe in putting yourself out there on social platforms. Like you have to believe in whatever you are actually doing and
put it out there.
Just put it out there, right?
Sorry, can I just sidetrack, right? If I was a financial advisor, right, I'll be putting out content everywhere, every single day, every day.
Yeah.
Is there, okay, from my perspective, right, I've only known you and Leslie, because my social circle is actually quite small, but I've only known financial advisors like you and Leslie who has been putting out content, but I don't, is there a reason why there aren't a lot of other financial consultants doing it? Okay. Why do you think that is? I'll tell you from my perspective, as outsider from the industry, right? They have certain insecurities about the kind of things that they're selling. And that's why or just insecurities in general, and that's why they don't put themselves out there in general. But what are your thoughts on it?
So for a lot of actually there are a lot of more and more consultants right now that are actually actively putting out content. I personally know of some of the consultants in Prudential, other than Leslie, who is really actively educating their audience as well as their clients through channels of social media. This is the part that I'm also still learning, trying to iron out. I don't put financial content just like Leslie. For me, I just feel more comfortable and more passionate about things that I'm actually interested in outside of finance. And hopefully those, because I'm kind of like trying to do this thing whereby if we connect on a certain personal interest, maybe that will actually translate in you want to find out more like
sounds very Gary.
what I'm doing professionally.
Yes, definitely.
So I don't know whether that's right or wrong. The closest person I can actually seek advice from is probably you.
Why me?
Like because you're actually doing marketing and branding and everything in VaynerMedia, in the agency. So to me, believe it or not, this is also a question that I'm trying to ask him. Like, because he always say that, put out things that
are unique to you, that shows your personality in a sense.
Yeah, correct. And that's what I'm actually doing. But my biggest question is, if I am not putting out content that's directly to finance and things like that, am I at the mercy of my other colleagues who are actually doing so? And which I don't really fully know the answer. Hopefully, if he ever comes down, then I'll be able to ask him this question. But for people who are actually putting out the content, like it's about I feel that for financial content, right, a lot of people actually tend to see it very differently. Like you can actually be putting in content, and even Leslie is actually trying this out as well, and it seems to be working for him. But I think there is also a group of audience whereby they're just not so excited when they actually see financial content. Like, I don't know, I don't know how to make things like CPF and things like that more exciting than it is lah. Like interest rate any more exciting. I don't know. So I think because the subject doesn't excite people, and a lot of us that are actually in the industry, I think are naturally not passionate about the subject matter itself, which is finance. What we are passionate about, a lot of us kind of naturally more gravitate towards is the relationship with the clients. Right? So when it's relationship, when it's actually about the less tangible stuff, like not the subject matter itself in finance and things like that, I think people just don't feel comfortable talking about the subject matter because it doesn't excite you. Of course, I have a lot of friends in the industry that loves the subject and is very passionate, doing all sorts of research, doing all sorts of like financial engineering, that kind of stuff. Really, really passionate about the numbers. I'm not like them. I have to give it to them. Even for them, they are also not doing any social media content, but they're just passionate about those subjects and they are very willing to actually share with anybody. So I think my answer to you, why people are not putting out the content, is really about not passionate about the subject matter, because I can see that for myself. It's not that we don't believe in what we are doing. to be very frank, I'm not trying to hide anything here because this is also something that I'm actually trying to find my voice in. Like, I'm very comfortable now. I'm actually at a stage whereby I am putting myself out there in terms of my content and things like that, like, you know, my passions and things like that. Hopefully that I would like to actually know more people who are like-minded as me, and we can talk about stuff that is actually not related to insurance, right? And they, by the way, kind of know that I'm actually doing insurance. So this is the part I'm actually trying to figure out. So I'm not sure if it's really of any value, but what I can really say in my heart is that I think people are not putting out content directly with finance because probably because a lot of people are not passionate about the subject matter itself. Yeah.
I mean, that's reasonable, I
Yeah,
sense, in
correct.
a sense.
Yeah.
What excites you, in a sense?
What excites
I mean,
me?
besides photography and everything, like when you talk about the kind of content you're putting out, what kind of content are you excited in putting out aside from photography? Because I've listened to your podcast. You have definitely had some notable guests on the show who has accomplished a lot in that sense, But
Yeah.
now for his podcast, sorry to sidetrack, right?
No worries.
What's your general
idea?
goal of this podcast of
Okay,
yours?
So the general goal of the podcast, right? Of course, it started off with why do I let me try podcast because I wanted to experiment on something, right? But there are over time, as I'm actually putting out episode by episode, I've realized that I have more of the puzzles coming together. Not the whole picture yet, but I started to see things. So one thing that I realized is that in these many years of a career, right, this is really related more for my clients. One thing why I'm actually doing this podcast is because, right, many years back, I realized that through conversations with my clients, meetings and things like that, of course it's nothing to do with like family deaths and things like that, but there were situations where I actually felt helpless. And those were the times whereby they are in job transitions, they are being retrenched for whatever reason, and I just couldn't actually help them in any way other than try to restructure their plans, which to a certain extent it only helps them to a certain way because things change, right? So I felt that, hey, one day, right, if I'm able to actually amass enough influence offline, those were the back then, amass enough influence offline in the sense that I can actually create some sort of a networking event or club where I can just pull my clients together, because my clients can come from different profiles, different demographics, different industries. Wouldn't it be good if they can actually just collaborate together,
help each other
things
out?
like that? Then after I realized that I also, like in the past, have been to certain networking events. I felt that they were only useful to a certain extent because networking events, essentially people will try to sell someone else something else. So the networking events, kind of like, in my own personal opinion, one man's point of view is that it doesn't work for me. So I thought that maybe not do a networking event. But what if, because through my passion of exploring videography and photography, what if I can actually build a video profile, a podcast that is of a video resume? Because if my clients are not putting out themselves, hopefully one day I can actually interview them through their real stories or through their certain career achievement, because they come from different industry. Let that be the video resume. And then with another client who's actually looking for job opportunities, right, who also have another video resume, and I can actually just match them.
Okay.
That is currently my goal.
Oh.
That is the bigger picture right now. So I'm actually trying to use podcasts to see whether I can actually create this kind of networking effect. So that's one. Second thing is because I'm still searching for answers, because I feel that you will never have a fixed answer, and then that's like your life's answer to everything. Like you have everything figured out. To me, like your show, learning, it's really about learning journey, right? And I feel that every single person really has something to offer. Like no matter which stature you are in, whether you are very successful or like just starting out from uni and things like that. So I felt that it would be good if through this thing that I'm actually experimenting, which is videography, and I have a hypothesis which I feel that a lot of people are not seeing, in the sense that a lot of people tend to see success or having a fulfilling life is something that's very distant or myth. And I want to see through my networking, through my circle, through my connections, can I actually have a collection of stories, piece them together into this whole podcast, and show to people that people who are living fulfilling lives through their careers is basically just everyday people. And I want like this to kind of inspire people in a sense, like, because I don't think I have anything to inspire. So I want the collection of stories to actually speak for themselves and let whoever that's actually really consuming my content, let that to be the value that the ultimate goal. Because for like going back to what I mentioned just now, I just not wired to be the kind of person that's really chasing for
Jets and like
correct,
big financial success.
So I want to bring value to this group of people who are like me. Like you are someone who's actually really looking out for like different kind of meaning and kind of stuff. So I want to connect with the people who believe in the same thing but are probably like 5, 7, 10, 100 steps ahead of me. Like they are already having some kind of financial success. Let those be the stories, and hopefully they can actually bring value to whoever's actually consuming it. Yeah.
I think when you say that, I think of the example you gave of the Japanese lady being 85 and being
Yeah.
contented at
Yeah.
where they are. So, I mean, this goes back to like what
Yeah.
also some points that Gary is saying. Like sometimes, I mean, you don't really necessarily have to earn like so much money to
Yeah.
be happy. So, I mean, you just earn at a comfortable rate where it suits your lifestyle and
Yeah.
be contented from there. Lah.
Yeah. And this is something that's actually very to me, it's something that is really out there in terms of ambition. I hope that one day I'll be able to do a documentary like a 24-hour with or 72-hour with this 85-year-old lady in Japan. Like
A documentary.
this kind of thing.
That's
Like
interesting.
yeah, I hope that through Creative Heart it can actually evolve to that stage, because that's something that I'm very passionate about.
You can just go over and just shoot it, right?
So all this Creative Heart with whatever content I'm actually doing out, right, is really for me to, it's like a training ground for me.
Oh, okay, I see.
It's like a training ground for me before I can really reach to that stage whereby I'm very confident in filming, because I want to actually do justice to
The stories that are being told.
stories. Yeah. So to me, it's like, well, if National Geographic can actually do this, and there's so many other awesome filmmakers on YouTube that can actually do all these very fantastic documentaries, I also want to give it a shot as that. But for now, I just want to start something.
The fundamentals.
The fundamentals. Be it like 2, 3 years, 4, 5 years, whatever it is, so that ultimately I can actually do this kind of ambitious things. And ultimately, right, what I'm trying to do right now, right, is that I actually shared with my wife like back in 2017, like what I'm trying to figure out with all these like passions outside of my professional work, which is ultimately, because like what I mentioned, right, we're all practical. We cannot like just because this is actually something that you're more passionate in, why not just dump whatever that's putting food on the table and then just go for it.
Yeah.
Because right now you're in a merit position, right? So anybody who's actually listening out there, right, you will know this to be not practical, right? I mean, if you're just starting out from uni, of course you can just leave the industry and just try a new one and try as much as possible before you just settle down. But once you have a family, you really cannot do that. So to me, it's really as much as possible, what is the stepping stone, what is the intermediate step, and that is hopefully I can marry whatever outside, like passions outside of professional work together, so that I can feel
Satisfied, happy,
like I'm
contributing.
like I'm not like you're really working every single day, like you're basically enjoying, and it feels like work, doesn't really feel like work also, but essentially you're actually giving value to your audience or to your clients. So it's more about marrying things together.
Yeah, I mean, I respect that sometimes. I mean, in Gary's, but sometimes I think when I first absorb Gary's content, it seems very extreme to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But I think there's always a room for negotiation for all this kind of different stuff. I mean, for myself, I mean, that's essentially what I'm doing as well, to try and have the fine balance of
Right, man.
doing
I mean,
what.
to be honest, I also don't know whether I'm actually doing the right things. Like, if I were to consult him, if I ever have the fortune or the blessing to ever even ask him such questions,
I'm
really
sure
sit
you
down with him,
will.
right? Because unless he really go through like your day to day whatever you're doing, I think he can actually, it's very difficult for him to actually give like answers that is 100% to you.
Yeah.
He will give you macro principle.
Yeah.
So to me, it's really just keeping the macro principle in mind, and then just do whatever that I feel
suits
that
you.
can get me closer to that goal. Kind of thing.
Okay, I mean, there's a lot of deep stuff, right?
Yeah.
If there's one thing that I learned from our conversation, right, it's about I wouldn't say normalizing, but accepting the fact that you don't need that kind of big financial success to be happy, but you just find what works for you in that sense. I mean, is that roughly one macro principle that you're in line with?
Not really, actually. No worries. But I mean, a lot of people will look at it from that point of view, which I don't think is totally wrong. But it's just for me, like what I actually believe in. It's not about whether you need it or not. It's, you see, the thing is, right, I start to really find answers for myself. It's when I really reflect, who am I as a person? As I start to let it sink in the sense that I start to let myself to be aware that I'm just not wired certain ways according to social norms, and I just have to come to a certain acceptance that other things make me tick. I think that's that is the main challenge for a lot of people. Like, I don't think I'm fully self-aware yet, like what Gary would actually encourage everyone to actually say, but I am putting myself out there, and like slowly every single day, I see every single day right now as another day for me to be better than yesterday. Yeah, like discover myself more, another chance to actually be a bit happier than yesterday, kind of thing. So I think the challenge is, a lot of people is that because things move very, very fast in our lives, if I were to think back, right, why I never actually realized all these answers before, right, is because it's not really about sitting down and really thinking back, but it's really be aware, like, how do you feel at the moment when you are doing certain things? Like, if certain things excites you, or certain thing doesn't excite you, or certain things excites you because you actually, people are seeing you a certain way, and you actually get that kind of validation, and then that's why it actually excites you. You have to be aware of these things in order to really figure out your answers one by one.
Find what makes you tick in
Correct.
your own way, because everyone ticks differently.
Yeah, correct. Because some people can be really happy, right, when they are of certain level of financial success, and to them it's very, very pure intent, because when they actually achieve that kind of certain level of financial success, to them the macro thing is they want to actually give back, and they are very pure in that intent. But of course, there are other versions of that, right? So it's not so much about whether you need it or not. It's really more of, I guess I'm just paraphrasing Gary lah. Basically, is you have to find ways to really reflect who you are as a person.
I think honestly, this is that's a difficult question for many of us to answer, even for myself lah.
Yeah, very, very difficult. And especially, I guess I can say for the career that I'm in, it's really difficult when you're actually in a sales career that is actually so fast moving, and you are
Driven by KPIs.
Yeah, you're driven by KPIs and a lot of expectations and clients' expectations in the industry and things like that, and skepticism and the social perspective on the industry. So things are moving so fast. It's very easy to kind of lose yourself along the way. Yeah, and I really give it to those people who are able to hang on and not deviate from what's true, and really figure themselves down and truly make this career like really meaningful for themselves. Yeah, I have a lot of seniors who have been in 15-16 years in the career, and whenever I speak to them, right, it always rejuvenates me, because like to them, as cliche as it sounds, like, it really is a meaningful career to them. Like a lot of people will say that they always throw this word around that insurance industry is a very meaningful career, blah, blah, blah. Then people are like, yeah, you are being brainwashed by the industry, blah, blah, blah. But really,
they genuinely feel it.
Yeah, correct. So to me, right, maybe it's my personality that I tend to be very sensitive. Like when I sense something that's genuine, right, I will want to dig further. Of course, I will keep a certain level of skepticism behind my head, just like Gary's content back in 2015, and even until now. But I can feel that kind of genuineness that's coming out from their mouth, and I find that these people really, it's either, well, some because they have experienced the payoff of insurance, the effect of insurance in their whole family, be it because of a certain trauma and things like that. But certain people really just believe in the kind of work that they are doing in terms of impact that they're creating every single day in their career. 15-16 years is not easy. And they still look happy. So to me, like, I don't have all the answers, but you are showing me some visual cues that 16, 17 years, you are very happy and you really are passionate in what you're talking about. It has to mean something, lah. Right? It cannot be just cliche and whatever per se.
I mean,
So-
do you think that you could shape yourself into having that thick heel in that direction?
I'm not sure, you see. So the thing is, right, I don't know what if let's say after today, whoever my clients happen to actually chance upon this video, and then after that they decided to, hey, maybe Kai after a few more years maybe won't be in this industry anymore. Whatever it is, I'm just gonna say the truth, okay? Because I believe in also in Singapore there's this actually certain expectations from clients in the sense that, hey, you're gonna be my agent today, are you gonna leave or you're gonna stay here forever? My personal perspective is that you can never expect anybody to be in a career for like the rest of his life. It's just not practical. Like I cannot expect you to be in advertising industry for the rest of your life. But maybe VaynerMedia will.
Never know.
I don't know, but like it's just not possible, right? To have the kind of expectation that you only have one job in your resume kind of thing.
Yeah.
To me, I'm still passionate in what I'm actually delivering every single day with my clients as of now. And my KPI for myself, the macro KPI, is the moment if I leave, it's not because I've actually lost hope in the industry or I've actually lost drive in the industry, but it will be because I'm ready for the next thing. And I will want to leave at a point where I can tell myself that every single clients are being taken care of, whoever's actually taking over. And that, like what I mentioned just now, 20 years down the road, if I have the chance to actually, bump into your granddaughter or grandson in a cafe or whatever, I don't want to like hide my face kind of thing, like because I've actually done something wrong to your family. So that's my macro KPI, and I feel that some people, to some people it will resonate, to some people it will not. I'm not sure.
You can't expect everyone to resonate.
But I
with that.
feel that with that in mind, right, 我对得起自己.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I
I mean,
feel
that's,
that,
I would say, the most important thing at the end of the day, to
Correct.
take care of yourself.
correct. Because then if that's my own KPI, then it's aligned with whatever I tell myself that what I want to achieve, right? Which is 85, I can be happy. Yeah, so I'm just trying as much as possible, whatever I'm doing, to fact check myself from time to time. Am I actually
In line with this.
aligned with whatever I'm telling myself that I want to do? Yeah. So I don't know whether maybe 20 years around I managed to actually marry different passions together, and it's so beautifully convoluted that I'm still in Prudential for the next 20 years. I also don't, I'm not open.
You never know, like, you never know.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, we have discussed for quite a lot of these topics. I'm honestly, I need to, because when I'm editing it, right,
Yeah.
I'll get certain follow-ups and questions. I think it's very meaningful. Ending off the podcast, right, like how I usually do, what's the best advice have you ever received?
What's the best advice? Oh, I'm not prepared for this.
No,
Best
is it-
advice, let me think.
The very best.
You're going to be editing this, right?
Yeah, no, I mean,
Okay, let me think
I mean, not edit this. I mean, this can be just an informal thing.
Because that's a very big question. Although I've actually come across like you've actually asked your previous guest.
I ask all the guests the same questions.
Best advice.
I mean, whether it comes to relationship, career, macro. I mean, it doesn't, because sometimes I think when I ask this question, I always think like it's the macro principle, but it can be just as simple as washing your clothes. So some of my friends tell me that, like literally do that, and they really explain passionately to me why it was the best advice they have ever received, right? What makes you tick in that way? What advice was given to you that made you tick in such a strong way?
I think best advice probably, if you were to ask me this question, right, 3 years back, I would give a different answer.
Okay, what was the
10
best
years
advice 3 years ago?
I wouldn't know, but I can
Wouldn't
tell
know.
you what's the best advice I actually got recently, maybe. And this is something that is probably is going to live with me for a very long time. Is that I realized that, how people always say that that it's always better when you don't have the relationship is always better. The relationship between two individuals is always better when you don't have expectations of another person. So I always hear that, I understand that, and with Gary's content, I also understand it even better. But recently, my wife actually shared with me this. But you have a lot of expectation of yourself, and you yourself is also a person. So I find myself, I judge myself a lot in the sense that I want myself to achieve certain
more.
things. So it's a very fine line. So when I'm talking about this at this point, right, it's worth mentioning that I would like to draw a very fine line between being pessimistic and being aware that you have expectations of yourself.
Okay.
Because last time, right, I used to feel that I need to have expectation of myself. Because if not, right, then I don't know where to go. And then I'll be like, oh, maybe I will not be able to do this. I'll be a pessimistic person. So I feel always the need that I need to have certain expectation of myself, and I need to continue to chase after these expectations. And I need to be like, day one, I love to be productive, so I need to be productive every single day. And those days when I don't feel productive, right, I judge myself that I'm shit.
You beat yourself up.
Yes. So the recent advice from my wife is what clicks with me the most, which is that I didn't realize that I am casting that kind of expectation on myself, and because I don't achieve it every single day, I am doing myself a lot of bad rather than good.
In a sense, don't judge yourself.
Yeah, but that intellectually I understood it to a certain extent, but recently I really felt it through this conversation with my wife. So I think sometimes it's really about like same thing, but it just doesn't ring with you the same way.
Yeah, you mean you just say it differently lah.
Yeah, it's not just saying like, yes, from a third person point of view, right, it's really just about saying it differently, but spiritually you just feel, I never actually saw myself as
that conversation
also a
resonated
person.
with you.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
So to me is nowadays I try to be very aware of like, okay, I want to do certain things. I may not be immediately good enough or competent enough to achieve it straight away. I think the most productive thing for me to actually do is do whatever I can, and at the same time not expect myself to be completely there.
What is the worst advice have you ever received?
Worst advice I've ever received is, unfortunately, is in this industry itself.
Okay.
And the very reason why I'm saying this is not to talk bad about the industry, but it's really to actually bring value, hopefully, for someone who's really trying to figure out himself or herself, like whether the first year, second year, or third year in your career. And that is, to earn more money, you need to spend more money.
Can you elaborate?
There are a lot of mentors out there that the way they actually guide their mentees is that when you have your first few years of success, financial success, spend on things, whether it's actually branded goods or anything like that, so that it will push you to be more productive, and you will actually climb further.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah. So this advice is obviously not given by my own director, otherwise I won't be with her. But I was in this illusion because I was trying to find myself, right? So with the different peers and things like that, I started to actually see myself buying into this belief, and I actually did that stupidly in 2012, 2013, 2014.
To use that loss in the capital to drive you to do even more. Okay.
Yeah, literally almost empty your bank account so that you'll be driven to do even more the following year.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And this, I think, will resonate with a lot of people, because a lot of people in the industry are also the victim of it, but very few people dare to talk about it.
I think you should be talking about it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
1 year from now,
Yeah.
what tangible things would need to happen to you to make it the best year for your career thus far? I know you talk about like all this kind of being in a state of mind where you're really just satisfied with where you are, but yet not judging yourself. I mean, there's so many things that you talked about, right? But if there are any tangible things that you like to happen, I mean,
tangible things.
Okay, let me paraphrase. Maybe not in your career. Maybe a relationship. Are you a father? Are you expecting a child soon?
Not yet.
Soon. Would it be one of the events? But okay, just to rephrase everything, right? What tangible things would need to happen to you in the next year to make it the best year for your life, not just career? What's the first thing that comes to mind? I'm sure that's already the first thing that comes to mind.
Sorry, did you say next year?
Within a year.
Within a year, huh? So I'm just gonna be very non-inspirational in my answer, which is
You don't need to be. You don't need to be.
yeah. So basically, hopefully I can pass my N4 in my Japanese exam.
That's good.
I just wish for the entire COVID-19 thing to be
Oh shit! Yeah, this virus thing is
to
really.
really go away because it's really getting worse. Yeah, like the fact that we are still sitting here, still healthy, I think that is really indeed a blessing because it's madness outside of Singapore, really. So hopefully we can actually go back to our normal daily lives, and then maybe at the end of the year I can do my travels and do my
Yay.
photography in worry free. Other than that, I still hope Japan will still be able to like carry out their Olympics.
Oh yes,
It's very
this
worrying
year.
for them. Do you know that this is something that a lot of people can actually agree with, which is that there's just certain kind of resilience with them. They've been through Fukushima in 2011. They've put in so much effort for the past 8 to 9 years building up to this Olympics, and this in 2020, the beginning of the year, just gonna have to whack them. It's not like last year; it had to be beginning of this year, which is the same year of the Olympics. It's very. I feel for them. I feel for them. And then the other thing is, I hope that I sincerely hope that whatever I'm actually building right now, creative heart or whatever content I'm actually putting out there, at the end of the day, I am really putting into practice like every single day because of Gary's advice. Whatever content I'm putting out, is it really bringing value to someone, like even one person, whether it is your client or not? I'm being very aware of that every single day. That might actually cause me to be overthinking in things, but that's a separate topic.
It's a separate topic altogether, man.
But yeah, that's what I'm hoping to do, and I feel that if I would be able to achieve all these things, especially if I were to look back and I tell myself that I'm really putting stuff that is and really creating value, and that actually translate to people, in turn taking care of me financially, of course, like through my professional, of course, like it's not like I'm expecting it, but that naturally takes cost by itself.
Yes.
I feel that I'll be good. Like I'm ready for the next thing in the sense that, okay, I'm actually having the things in place, like, for the next thing or for the next year. Yeah.
Okay, thanks so much for joining me on this podcast. I must say, at this point, I'm a little confused. Like, there's just so much things,
So
right?
many things, right?
Yeah, a lot.
Actually, maybe because
that
the way
escalated
I
quickly.
talk is also not very structural.
No, it's okay. This is part of the process.
Because
of,
I always feel that a lot of people, right, they are naturally eloquent, right? Even though I'm in a sales career with 9 years, I'm supposed to actually be very good in terms of like the way I talk, like point by point, very, like with all kind of clarity. I still think that I'm not.
No,
Because
I think you speak
my
very
thought
well.
processes, right?
My thought process is the one that's
jump
super
all over
messy,
the place also.
But for those listeners that want to reach out to you, right?
Yeah.
How can they reach out to you? Which platforms are you most active on right now?
I think I'm most active on Instagram, which is Kaiser, KHYEZR. And Kaiser because Kai, and the ZR because when this name was first stuck to me, it was like maybe like 7-8 years back, and those were the years whereby something with a Z in your name is actually very
Cool.
very cool,
Oh,
right?
okay.
And also a bit of background story why Kaiser, right? And back in NUS, I actually took 2 semesters of German.
Oh, it
So-
sounds Germanish,
So
is it?
Kaiser is like chief.
Oh,
So that
no
was
wonder
very
it sounded so
narcissistic
familiar.
of me.
Okay,
But
okay.
that's what I've been stuck with. So that's what. So KHYEZR. LinkedIn, I am also trying to be very active. Facebook, the Creative Heart, Spotify. If you're interested in that kind of like episodes, because each episode is like 1.5 to 2 hours. Other than that, what else? TikTok lor, something that I'm just
Are you
trying to
using
experiment.
TikTok?
I'm experimenting lah. You will not see me dance there, but like I'm experimenting with different things that I'm like, I'm trying to find myself there also.
Okay,
basically.
interesting. I find TikTok very interesting.
Very challenging platform.
yes, very
very
interesting.
challenging platform.
Okay, thanks so much, and I hope you enjoyed this session. And
I have.
I think it'd be interesting to like get like past podcast guests together, maybe you, Leslie, or just talk out. Like
Yeah.
I prefer this kind of informal conversations.
Yeah, conversations like,
because
so
I
that
think it's more organic or more authentic, like in that sense.
I love it too.
Oh, I love it too. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Like whenever I do my own podcast, right, like even my guests kind of like, no, okay, so he sent me a certain script or whatever.
Oh, really? Is
And
it?
it's like, I try not to do that because like, you know,
That's what
I
I
just
see
want
the
us to
people
like,
as
just
well.
sit there, relax, and just talk.
Yeah, that's what I see this, but some people want also, but it's all part of the process.
Yeah,
It's
all
how
part of
people
the
think.
process.
It's how people
Exactly,
think. So
exactly.
it's all part of the process. Okay, thanks so much, man.
Thank you so much, man. Thanks so much for having me.